Good afternoon, GQ Radio listeners. Welcome to Go With Grace. My name is Joe, and I welcome you to my show. And I want to say hello to Excalville. Thank you for tuning in on Facebook Live. Today, let's get moving and get growing on our journey today to be the best badass version of ourselves. I want to start off with a few shout-outs this afternoon. First of all, to my fellow veterans out there in GQ Radio Land, I hope you took some time to thank a veteran yesterday on Veterans Day. I love seeing all the great stuff going on in our community to thank veterans for their service. My wife and I got to go to Texas Roadhouse in Rosenberg, and we had a great time seeing all the other veterans that came out for their free steak. And the majority of those were Vietnam and Korea era Marines, so I got a chance to talk with them, and even better, I got to take my grandbuddy with me, so we had fun people watching. I'm also I'm blessed to be living my calling, and especially grateful for all the many service members I've had the privilege to serve alongside of. Each of you mean very much to me, and I thank you that we can keep in touch. And they were able to be a blessing to one another, especially those we were deployed with. And now that it's over almost 11, 12 years ago, I enjoy that we stay in touch. So bless you guys. I'm blessed to be living my calling, and I pray you are living your calling, or at least on your path to doing so. I pray this show helps you along that daily journey. I also want to thank Matt Williams, retiredarmychaplain.com. I got a chance to meet him over the weekend through my friend Daniel. He runs a Facebook page called Vet Church, and he and I just really hit it off. I had the privilege to be blessed by him, so check him out. He's an awesome dude, and much like me, he loves God and loves soldiers, so check him out. Also want to send a thank you out to Michael Berry on KTRH. He had 1 hour of his show yesterday on Veterans Day to allow veterans to call and talk about their businesses or their websites to kind of promote themselves. So I was able to do that and talk about the show here at GQ Radio. So thank you for that, Michael. And he does a lot of the corny one-liner jokes like I do. It's funny, I didn't notice him doing it until I started preparing for the show. So he kind of does the same thing. And I shared one with him when I emailed him last week because he had an event at his place, and my son and I went to for a free veterans dinner. We had a great time, and so I thanked him. And part of the email, I shared one of my jokes. What's it called when Batman skips church? It's Christian Bale. So when I asked him about it, we were on the air. He's like, "Yeah, I remember it now. I didn't really care for it." So then I just responded humorously. He's like, "Well, it's on the air now." So that was a kid to get to be on his show for a couple of seconds. Today we're talking about the law of consistency, so get ready to be blessed. Get ready to take some notes, or just listen and take it all in. You can go back later to gqradio.com, go to the app, or listen again, or at my website, revgrace.com, like Rev Your Harley, revgrace.com. I'll share the GQ Radio Facebook Live there, as well as the audio ripped out, so if you're exercising, riding your bike, or doing something that requires your visual attention, you can listen to it in a variety of forms and settings. I'd really appreciate your feedback, even the negative stuff, so send me an email at joe@gqradio.com, and let's get to know each other. After all, we're on this daily journey together, and I do want to get to know you. I want to hear what you like and what you don't like, and what kind of music you want to hear, etc. Just give me your feedback. And our Medal of Honor Minute today, we'll be talking about Vietnam War Army Chaplain Major Charles Waters. So stand by for that. Coming up later. Before we get to our content of the law of consistency, I want to share with you a couple of jokes, for jokes and quotes for November 12th. Which country's capital has the fastest growing population? Ireland. Every day it's Dublin. With Irish heritage, I like that one. Yesterday, a clown held the door for me. It was such a nice gesture. This is a good one, too. Don't interrupt someone working intently on a puzzle. Chances are you'll hear some cross words. Today in Houston here, it's actually cold for once. I had to actually wrap pipes and drain my sprinkler system like many people in Houston had to do. So now some of you are in worse weather conditions and have snow and weather much worse, but here in Houston, we're weather wimps. We can't even drive when it rains hard, much less if we have some snow or sleet or even the lightest dusting of snow. It creates gridlock for days here. When there's even a chance of snow here, I don't even leave the house or get on the road because all you'll end up doing is getting stuck in traffic for hours. You probably never even make it to work that day. So this all in mind, here are some "it was so cold" jokes for you. It was so cold the hitchhikers were holding up signs of their thumbs. It was so cold roosters were rushing into Kentucky Fried Chicken and begging to use the pressure cooker. And one more, it was so cold the squirrels in the park were throwing themselves at the electric fence. Yeah, I know, they're corny, but hey, I saved some for later, so you're going to get to hear more. So let's take a quick break and hear some Johnny Cash, and then we'll get right back into our law of. All right, so today we're talking about the law of consistency. Last week we took a look at the law of the mirror, which says you must see value in yourself to add value to yourself. I wanted to recap briefly a few tasks or challenges that I gave to you last week. So I hope you took a chance, took up that challenge, but if you didn't, guess what? I've got a lot of grace for you. I will share with you some of those highlights for you to consider, and I hope you take some time to think about how those apply to your life and how they can help you move closer toward your passion and your purpose. But wait, speaking of purpose, I've heard it said that one of the ways you define or to know a good leader is one who asks good questions. So here's a question I have for you today. What would you like to be known for? Another question along that same line of thinking is this. What are you known for? What would you like people to say about you when you take that long celestial dirt nap, when you leave this earth and have your last breath? Well, I'm here to tell you that there is usually a gap between those two questions. What would you like to be known for? And what are you known for? That gap is your purpose. Are you living with a sense of purpose now? I sure hope you are. And even if you aren't, or think that you aren't, there's good news, because shrinking the gap between those two questions is something I want to encourage you to do. Bringing those two questions more into alignment as possible, and we can move toward people knowing us for being people of purpose. Here's some truth I got to lay down, though. None of us can mature in comfort. We've got to take action. So that's my call to you today, to take action. We either have experienced, will experience, or are currently experiencing difficult times in our lives. What we need to do is to have some hope. Hope is crucial when life feels broken, when we feel broken, whether it's broken dreams, broken lives, or broken relationships. Here's 3 things you can do to bring some hope into your life and others as well. Because you know something? No one ever prays this prayer, Lord, help me suffer today. No one ever does that. Life has enough suffering in it without having to pray for opportunities to suffer. So here's 3 things you can do to bring some hope into your life and others. These 3 are easy to remember because they spell the word eat. And who doesn't like to eat? I know I do. Way too much. So E. E stands for encouragement. What's the international sign for someone who needs encouragement? Their breath, their breathing. So basically, la-di-da-di, everybody needs some encouragement. And I need that daily. So find someone to encourage every day. And A is availability. This is really a matter of your mindset. We're all busy, aren't we? If I gave you the task of coming up with 69 reasons why I'm too busy to do this or that, it wouldn't take any of us more than a minute to come up with that list. And T stands for time. It takes time to be a friend to someone. It takes time to encourage others. So it takes encouragement, availability, and time to bring hope alive in someone else's situation. In so doing, you bring hope to your own situation when we put others first. So there's some free chicken for you. One of my chaplain instructors when I was in Army chaplain school forever ago used to run in and interrupt the class we were in when someone else was teaching, interrupt that particular block of instruction to share the latest and greatest idea or resource he had found that he just had to share with us. He couldn't wait till he had his next teaching block. So he would come in and holler, free chicken, free chicken. So ever since that, I blamed him and used his example as my excuse for chasing a rabbit trail in a different direction or a path of a conversation. So today we're talking about the law of consistency. Motivation gets you going. Discipline keeps you growing. Jim Tressel says, the hallmark of excellence, the test of greatness is consistency. The key to success in life is consistency. It's very boring. It's day in and day out the same thing over and over again. But the changes of life happen when you start working on something consistently. It doesn't matter how talented you are. It doesn't matter how many opportunities you receive. If you want to grow, consistency is the key. Today I want to ask you 4 personal growth questions. Number 1, do you know what you need to improve? You need to improve yourself. And yourself involves your choices, your discipline, your attitudes, your thinking. And you need to improve your strengths and your abilities. So you need to improve your choices and your abilities, the abilities you're gifted in. Journalist and author George Lorimer says this, you've got to get up every morning with determination if you're going to go to bed with satisfaction. That's certainly a true statement, isn't it? But you've got to know where to direct that determination. You can't master your job if you don't master yourself. Your future depends upon your personal growth. Improving yourself daily guarantees that your future will be filled with possibilities. When you expand yourself, you expand your horizons, your options, your opportunities, and most importantly, your potential. Listen to this quote. This is awesome. E.M. Gray said, the successful person has the ability of doing the things that failures don't like to do. The successful person doesn't like doing them either, but his dislike is subordinated to the strength of his purpose. Dudes and dudettes out there, listen. That, if nothing else you get from today, that right there is worth the cost of listening to today's show. So the more tuned in you are to your purpose, and the more dedicated you are to growing toward it, the better your chances are of reaching your full badass potential. Second question about personal growth I need to ask you is number 2, do you know how you're supposed to improve? Here's the how. You need to start simple and start daily. Don't make the mistake of starting on the grand scale. Like those who started a garden for the very first time, they planted way too many seeds and have way too big a garden. And after about a month later, they're cursing what they've done. So just start small. Do you have a handle on how to improve yourself? Here are some suggestions that can help you get started. Number 1, match your motivation to your personality type. Not everyone gets motivated the same way or gets motivated by the same things. You can leverage your personality type to get yourself going. There are tons of all kinds of personality tests available online. Today I'm going to give away a copy of Strength Finders right here. I just got this at the Half Price Bookstore last week for myself. It's still in the wrapper, fresh and brand new with the assessment inside it. So it's a great personality test and a resource. The military has used Strength Finders for many years, and I highly recommend it. So a little brief description about Strength Finders. It's a powerful assessment that helps individuals identify, understand, and maximize their strengths. By exploring the ways in which you naturally think, feel, and behave, Strength finders can identify and build on the areas where you have infinite potential to grow and succeed. So the first person to comment, yes, I want to grow, will get this book and the assessment that comes along with it. So comment in the comments, yes, I want to grow, and then email me at joe@gqradio.com so I can get your mailing address. So that's a good point to take a break, and we'll listen to another Johnny Cash song, and then we'll get right back into the law of consistency. From Johnny Cash. Before we get back into it, I want to share a couple of more It Was So Cold jokes. It was so cold, the dogs were wearing cats. And the last one, it was so cold, Starbucks was serving coffee on a stick. And this one's a good one. Grandma's been staring through the window ever since it started to snow. If it gets any worse, I think I'm going to have to let her inside. All right. So, number 3 question I want to ask you about personal growth is, do you know why you want to keep improving? The why is what keeps you motivated long after that first rush of energy and enthusiasm wears off. It can carry you through when willpower isn't enough. Think of it as why power. Why power is so much better than willpower. Willpower is gritting your teeth and doing it even though you really don't want to do it. But boy, when you have why power, you're like, you've got reasons why. Share in the comments what your why power is, and let's talk about that. I love the story of the traveling salesman who looked out the window of the hotel restaurant at a blinding snowstorm. He asked the waiter, "Do you think the roads will clear up enough in the morning to travel?" The waiter replied, "That depends on if you're on salary or commission." So having a strong why will help you keep going when the discipline of learning becomes difficult, discouraging, and tedious. I've got my reasons why. I don't always feel like getting out of bed. Heck, I rarely ever feel like getting out of bed. We have such a nice bed. It tilts up and down, and just to get in the perfect position. It's awesome for sleeping. It's also awesome for watching TV. It's just awesome for being lazy in. Our bed is awesome. It's especially awesome. My wife is in it with me. It even does a vibrating massage. So yeah, we have an awesome bed. But my why gets me out of that awesome bed. And now that I'm 50, I rarely enjoy going to the gym, working out, or getting onto the elliptical machine in my office. You see, my willpower sucks. But my why power gets my lazy ass out of that awesome bed. You see, well, most days that is. Some days I do stay in the bed on Saturdays. My why power is to get back in shape and stay in shape so that I can continue to serve in the Army Reserve. And trust me, it used to be just the muscle group I worked out that was sore. Now everything hurts. Also, the Army is changing to entirely new physical fitness tests, as some of you already know. It used to be easy to know what you needed to do to be ready when we had to do was push-ups, sit-ups, and a 2-mile run. Well, now there are going to be 6 events, and this new test is not adjusted for age. A few years ago, I had actually finally gotten old enough to actually do well on the PT test. Well, those days are long gone. Now you have no choice but to be consistent. If not, you will not be prepared. So that's one of my why powers. In addition to what I told you in my first episode, I also want to be able to see my grandbuddies born and be involved in their lives. I want to pour all that I've learned into their little heads and influence their mindset to be victors, and to know without a doubt that they have a divine purpose. Just as I believe and know to be true that's true for each of you, that you have a divine purpose. So this new physical fitness test is called the ACFT, or the Army Combat Fitness Test. I did some research and joined a Facebook group. It's all about ACFT preparation. Thank the Lord for others who are more passionate about planning than I am. I was able to read all about the test and what is necessary to prepare. You see, the 6 events all require specialized equipment that I don't have, and equipment my gym doesn't have either. But I did discover what areas I need to work on and the specific exercises I can do that will help me be prepared. And I was like, yes, awesome. That's what I need. I was getting burned out from my current exercise anyway, and it's good to change things up every once in a while, isn't it? So I started last week doing this Army Combat Fitness Test specific prep workout that I found, and I'm back to being sore in specific muscle groups. While it sucks being sore, getting out of that bed is a lot easier now that I know I have a refreshed purpose to do well on this new PT test. So that's a little about my why power. I want to ask you, what's your why power? Here's a few more reasons I've got that I want to share with you, and I hope some resonate with you and encourage you to help build your list of your why power. Here are some reasons why I keep moving and keep going and keep growing. Number 1, I'm still making a difference. Number 2, I'm still growing. Number 3, I have gifts to share with others. Number 4, I am called to add value to others, add value to you. Number 5, I love my team. Number 6, I love challenges, except for the one that involves me getting out of the bed. 7, I want to have a legacy. Number 8, I enjoy what I do. Number 9, I want to be a source of hope. And number 10, I get excited about seeing others grow. So why am I sharing that with you? Because when you have enough whys, you'll consistently keep going. When you run out of whys, it's much like running out of gas in your car. You'll have no fuel to take you anywhere else. The more valid reasons you have to achieve your dream, the higher the odds are that you actually will. That principle is also true about growth. The greater number of reasons you give yourself to grow, the more likely you will be able to follow through. Of course, in some circumstances, one really big, compelling why can also be enough. As Kenyan world-class runner Bernard Kip Lagat demonstrated when he was interviewed during the Sydney Olympics, he was asked how his country was able to produce so many great distance runners. His answer, it's the road signs. Beware of lions. The legendary NFL coach Vince Lombardi says it this way: once you learn to quit, that becomes a habit. If giving up has become a habit for you, I suggest you take the advice of one of my other mentors, Darren Hardy, who wrote an awesome book called The Compound Effect. In it, he writes, the compound effect is the principle of reaping huge rewards from a series of small, smart choices. What's most interesting about this advice, even though the results are massive, the steps in the moment don't feel significant. Whether you're using this strategy to improve your health, your relationships, your finances, or anything else for that matter, these changes are very subtle. These changes offer little to no immediate result, no big win. Well then, why bother doing it, right? What most don't realize is that these small, seemingly insignificant steps, completed consistently over time, will create a radical difference. When you make the right choices, however small, and do it consistently over time, it can make a huge difference in your life. If you remember why you're making those choices, it becomes easier the more you do it. And number 4, do you know when you're supposed to improve? When do you need to improve? Right now, today. Life lived for tomorrow will always be just a day away from being realized. So you need to get started if you haven't already. More importantly, you need today to be every day. You will never change your life until you change something you do daily. This means developing great habits. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishments, and that bridge must be crossed every single day. Over time, that daily crossing will become a habit as well. Ultimately, people don't decide their future. They do decide their habits, and those habits decide their future. Man, that's powerful. Let me repeat that for you so that it soak in. People don't decide their future. They do decide their habits, and their habits decide their future. Man, let that sink in. A bad habit never goes away by itself. It's always an undo-it-yourself project. Consistency isn't easy, though, and I assure you, I don't have it all figured out and still struggle with consistency myself. Novelist Aldous Huxley asserted, consistency is contrary to nature. Contrary to life, the only completely consistent people are the dead. While this is such a true fact, to be successful, we still must learn to become consistent. You must figure out what works for you. I can tell you what works for me. Last year, I changed from being more goal conscious to becoming more growth conscious. What's the difference, you ask? Well, let me describe it to you with some examples. Goal consciousness focuses on a destination, while growth consciousness focuses on the journey. Goal consciousness focuses on motivating you and others, while growth consciousness matures you and others. Goal consciousness is seasonal, and growth consciousness is lifelong. Goal consciousness challenges you, while growth consciousness changes you. And goal consciousness stops when the goal is achieved, and with growth consciousness, you keep growing beyond the goal. With goal consciousness, we wait for growth to come. With growth consciousness, we take the responsibility to grow. And goal consciousness learns only from our mistakes. With growth consciousness, we learn before our mistakes. And finally, with growth consciousness, we rely on hard work as opposed to goal consciousness, which depends on good luck. There really is no such thing as good luck. Good luck is made through hard work and preparation. If you can believe in yourself and the potential that's inside you, and then focus on growth instead of goals, there's no telling how far you can grow. You just need to be consistent in putting the work in as you keep believing in yourself. I believe in you, and like I often say, Jesus and I are your biggest fans, so keep pressing on. Let me wrap up our discussion about the law of consistency. Motivation gets you going, but discipline keeps you growing. Here's how to apply the law of consistency in your life. Number 1, align your methods of motivation with your personality type. Again, like I said earlier, if you haven't already, reply in the comments, I want to grow, but I'm going to give this Strength Finders book away, which includes the assessment in the back of the book. And be sure to email me your address at joe@gqradio.com. You can also find these hard copy books at Half Price Books. I don't know what they go for retail, but I was able to find them for less than $10. The store I went to had a stack of 10 of them, so that's the bargain for less than $10. So keep listening, and maybe I'll give another book away next week. If not Strength Finders, though, you can find others out there. Just find one. That's the key, is that you find one and use it. Some other examples of other tests out there are Myers-Briggs, the DISC assessment, and Personality Plus, just to name a few. Many of them are available online, and some will charge you a fee, but with some searching, I'm sure you can find a free version. The point is this: once you have a good handle on what makes your personality tick, Then develop a daily growth system that is simple and plays to your strengths. And number 2, it's difficult to remain engaged in anything if you haven't found a way to value and appreciate the process. So make a list of everything you like about personal growth. If your list is short, then really work at it. Anything you can find as motivation will help you develop better growth habits. And number 3, more whys. The more whys you have for pursuing personal growth on a daily basis, the more likely you are that you will actually follow through with it. So start compiling your whys, like the list I read out to you today. Think of immediate benefits as well as those that are more long-term. Consider reasons related to your purpose, your vision, and your dreams. And think about how it will help you in several ways, whether that be relationally, vocationally, or spiritually. And any reason to grow is a good reason as long as it's your reason. So find your reasons, email me your list, and let's start a conversation together and see how I can help you in that process. God bless you guys. We'll take a quick break and hear another song and hear our Middle of All. All right. Welcome back, GQ Radio listeners. Hello to Marcella. Thank you for your great comments and listening in. I have to give you a couple more jokes about the cold before we get to our Medal of Honor minute today. The winner of the costume contest was the Invisible Man. He was invisible, and his wife wasn't too much to look at either. Okay, what's another good one? Why did the farmer only wear one boot to town? He heard there would only be 50% chance of snow. Okay, this is a good one here. Let's see. Why did the lady snowman divorce her husband? She found out he was going to a snowblower. And why was the snowman so brave? Because he had big snowballs. All right, a couple more I'll save for later and one good one to wrap up with. So today's Medal of Honor minute, we recognize Chaplain Major Charles Joseph Waters. Throughout the history of warfare, they have been a desire for religious guidance and assistance during man's most difficult times. These religious men not only helped in administering comfort and spiritual peace to their flocks, but at times led them into battle, assisted the wounded, and sometimes paid the ultimate sacrifice for their God and for their country. America's first Army chaplains made their appearances during the first battles of the American War for Independence, in the battles of Lexington and Concord in April of 1775. Much of the clergy around the pro-independence areas in Massachusetts and other areas, including Joseph Thatcher and Philip Payson, not only gave religious aid, but carried arms and led their own congregations into battle for the cause of freedom and liberty. Because this tradition of bravery and courage under fire, the United States Army chaplaincy grew in fame. The clergy have been by the sides of soldiers throughout all the bloody and distinguished engagements the United States has fought since the Revolutionary War. They cared for the dead, administered rites, and in some instances took up arms against the enemy. During the turmoil that surrounded the Vietnam War in the 1960s, the U.S. Army chaplains served their country as with other previous conflicts in American history. It was in the Vietnam War that Chaplain Major Charles J. Waters saved many of the lives of his own flock and sacrificed his own life for the greater good. Born in Jersey City, New Jersey on 17 January 1927, Waters was ordained a Roman Catholic priest in 1953 and served in parishes in Jersey City, Rutherford, Cranford, and Paramus. In 1962, he became a chaplain in the New Jersey Air National Guard, and in 1964, Waters entered the Army as a chaplain at Fort Dix, New Jersey. In July 1966, Chaplain Waters was assigned to the Republic of Vietnam and served with Company A, 173rd Support Battalion, 173rd Airborne Brigade. Although he was officially assigned to the 173rd Support Battalion, Waters often accompanied the brigade's line units into the field. In July 1967, after completing his 12-month tour, he voluntarily extended his tour by another 6 months. November 1967, Chaplain Waters was with 2nd Battalion, 503rd Infantry, as the battalion took part in the bloody fighting for Hill 875 around Dak To. For Waters, the culmination of the battle came on 19 November. During that day, an intense firefight broke out with enemy forces. Without thinking of his own safety, Waters began to rush onto the battlefield to help and collect the dying and wounded and bring them to safety. Completely exposed, Chaplain Waters administered the sacrament of last rites to his dying men. Every time his unit began to charge the front line, Waters was ahead, picking up the wounded and administering the sacraments to those who had fallen. He also helped carry others to safety, including a paratrooper who was in shock and unable to move from his exposed position. After hours of intense fighting, with the perimeter of the battlefield in a state of constant confusion, Chaplain Waters continued to maintain his composure in a time of severe crisis. For hours after the initial fighting, he kept venturing out between friendly and enemy lines, picking up the wounded, providing the exhausted soldiers with food and water, administering the sacraments, and helping the medics give aid to the wounded. There were even efforts to try to restrain Chaplain Waters from his heroic and courage deeds because of his vulnerability to enemy and friendly fire. Sadly, Waters himself became a victim of the raging battle on Hill 875 and did not survive that day. Chaplain Waters' deeds were not in vain, though. He helped to save many men from death and comforted those who were dying. While the priest died on the battlefield, his legend did not. It spread from Southeast Asia all the way to the Pentagon. For his own courage and bravery, 2 years after his death, Father Charlie, as he was known to the troops, was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor on 4 November 1969. For his conspicuous gallantry, unyielding perseverance, and selfless devotion to his comrades. These simple yet somber words are found on his Medal of Honor citation. Chaplain Charles Waters is one of the best examples of how U.S. Army chaplains serve their men and women of our country with gallantry and conspicuous courage. Chaplain Waters will always be remembered by those he saved in the time of severe crisis. Because of this, he will also be remembered as one of the Army's greatest soldiers. Chaplain Waters is buried at Arlington National Cemetery, and his name, Charles Joseph Waters, is inscribed in the Vietnam War Memorial, or the wall, on panel 30E, row 03. So that's the story about Chaplain Waters. So next we want to talk about today in history. The first little story is the exploding whale. Happened on November 12th, 1970. The Oregon Highway Division used a half-ton of dynamite to blow up the carcass of a beached whale, with unexpectedly messy results. Whale body parts were scattered across the beach, with chunks of whale hitting spectators and destroying a parked Cadillac. That sounds wild, crazy, and a little humorous. The Loch Ness Monster on November 12, 1933. This is the first photo claiming to be of the Loch Ness Monster and was taken by Hugh Gray. It was published in the Daily Express the following month. And on November 12, 1954, Ellis Island closes. The Upper New York Island closed. It had processed 20 million immigrants since its opening in 1892. In World War II, on this date, in 1942, the draft was lowered to the age of 18. U.S. President Franklin D. Roosevelt lowered the draft age from 20 to 18. And here's a great story for you hockey fans out there. Clinton Stevenson, praying Benny Benedict, died on November 12, 1976. A little story about him. The Canadian Hall of Famer and hockey goalie, He was the first NHL goalie to wear a face mask in 1929. He was the first goalie to drop to his knees to stop the puck along the ice, earning him the nickname Praying Benny. Dropping to the ice was illegal at that time, causing the NHL to have to change their rules, legalizing this move. And then Auguste Rodin, born November 12, 1840, was a French sculptor and noted for his famous statue, The Thinker, which he did in 1888. He said when motion photography proved that horses didn't gallop in the manner often depicted by artists, he responded this way: "It is the artist who is truthful, and it is photography which lies. For in reality, time doesn't stop." And that's a truism I wanted to share today, and that's something we all need to think about. We really need to learn to appreciate the moment and live in the moment, because time doesn't wait or stop for anyone, and we aren't promised a tomorrow. Time doesn't stop for anyone, so let's not let time stop us. And then Stan Lee, who was born Stanley Lieber. I know you guys all know who Stan Lee is, the creator and editor-in-chief of Marvel Comics. He died on November 12th, just a year ago. It's hard to believe he's been gone that long, but he was an American cartoonist who created the Fantastic Four in 1961, the Amazing Spider-Man in 1962, and the Hulk also in 1962. He is just another reminder that time presses on and time keeps rolling along. It doesn't seem like it's been that long that he's been gone, but every day is precious. So let's seize the moment and value our days and number our days and add value to other people each opportunity we have. Let's take a quick break. Let's see. Nope, we won't take a break. We don't have time for a break. But I will share with you a couple of more one-liners and a couple of quotes I had before we wrap up today. Why did the little old lady make her husband shovel the driveway? She thought she heard him begging for a snow job. That would just be good. I had to share that one. And a couple of quotes I found from about having great consistency that I pulled from projectmanager.com. I'll share a link on my page, revgrace.com, because there's several other quotes on there that are really good, specifically about consistency, but I want to share a couple real quick before we wrap up today. Success isn't always about greatness. It is about consistency. Consistent hard work leads to success. Greatness will come. And that was by The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. With a nickname like The Rock, what else would you expect, right? The wrestler turned actor knows that waiting for inspiration is not an option. Working consistently towards a goal will have you not only achieve it in time, but will also reveal greatness in the process. So I want to thank you all, guys and gals, dudes and dudettes, for listening today. And I want to be sure you tune in next week. We'll continue our discussion about personal growth. I won't be here. I'll be out of town, but I'm going to pre-record the show, and we'll be talking about the law of environment. Growth thrives in conducive environments. So be sure to listen in, and I hope that you'll be blessed by that. And I'll go out the door with the best one-liner of the day. With cold weather out there, it was so cold, the politicians had their hands in their own pockets. All right, God bless you guys, and be warm out there. Peace out.
Yes, to hope and encouragement, and go with grace. Tuesdays at 2:30 with Joe Grace on GQ Radio. Joe is a U.S. Army Reserve chaplain with over 16 years of military service, and he's ready to bless and encourage you through whatever battles you're facing. Each week, Go with Grace will also be geared towards our military veterans, their special stories, interviews, and you'll even hear music created by our awesome vets. Jump on the Yes Train and join Joe Grace, a friend and mentor for Go with Grace, Tuesdays at 2:30 on GQ Radio.